Hey everyone, my name is JJ.
And I'm Andrew.
And you're watching The Residents of Evil. Today we are joined by 4 of the original members of the RPD stars who helped birth a multi-billion-dollar media franchise. Greg Smith, Charlie Kreslowski, Eric Furious, and the long-lost yet newly discovered Linda.
As you may know, Greg, Charlie, Eric, and Linda all portrayed Barry Burton, Chris Redfield, Albert Wesker, and Rebecca Chambers in the live-action cut sequences featured in the original Resident Evil video game released on the PlayStation in 1996.
Before we jump into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us on Patreon. We run a small operation and creating content like this is no easy feat, so every bit of your support matters in helping grow the road.
And be sure to watch this video all the way to the very end because we have a very big announcement that you won't want to miss. Today, we once again enter the world of survival horror, but this time we are joined by Linda in her return to the Resident Evil community after 28 years. Welcome.
Wow, that makes me sound really old. Exactly.
So, first things first, first question for you guys. Do you remember these gentlemen, Linda? And then do you guys remember Linda?
You know, I do, briefly. I mean, it was a big day. It was a wild shoot, and it was very different than anything else that I had been doing in Japan at the time when I was modeling. So I think it left a really big impact on me as a young girl. So I remember meeting these guys, but it's been a while.
Yeah. What about you guys? Do you guys remember her?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
We all looked a little bit different, right? I remember for the shoot, I actually had blonde hair and they spray painted my hair that morning. So I would look more like in character, like Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of a fuzzy recollection, and I think you said that you were actually booked through a different agency or something like that,
Right. Yeah.
And just kind of arrived on your own. So I think maybe that's kind of why I think I remember the others a little bit better, but I remember you being there. But the important thing is that you're here now.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. I kind of remember you vividly because we spent a lot of time down. We were in the pretend helicopter together, which was supposedly the end. It was just us two. Being really sad because we'd left these guys behind, all that kind of stuff. And there was a lot of downtime between filming, and we must have done a fair few takes together. And we got sitting there drinking oolong tea.
It was a long
sushi
day.
And just chatting about the world. Yeah.
You remember having sushi, the little the bento box
Yeah,
stuff?
the bento boxes, the plastic ones. Yeah.
You got a good memory.
Yeah, I got to remember that well.
None of that Foster's has taken any of the edge off your memory. That's great. Yeah, you remember being in the trailer?
Yeah.
We did spend a lot of time in there. There was a lot of just heavy duty makeup, and that's just how that Japanese rolled at that time.
Yeah, and I think weren't they doing like behind the scenes footage?
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
I just remember kind of feeling the camera on me, and I was trying to look really cool. It was just kind of like
you had the bib, the makeup bib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I got there, I was so used to, having really lovely makeup on for my shoot. And I remember the makeup artist, when she was done with my makeup and my hair, she took me outside and she's like, "Can you roll around in the dirt?" And I thought, oh my goodness, this is so odd. Like they want me to roll in the dirt and get dirty. And I didn't really, they hadn't opened the studio door, so I didn't know what was going on or what the job was for. I didn't know what was going on. And I just remember her getting me really dirty and then kind of walking in somewhere and seeing the coolest robotic dogs, and they were Dobermans. And as a young girl, living in Japan, I didn't speak Japanese yet. So everything was new and exciting and very different from where I grew up. But I remember those dogs, they were so cool because they were robotic and they had blood on their teeth and they could move. And I thought wow, this is the coolest. And I still didn't really know what the job was for. And then when we got on set, I got to meet you guys and there was a helicopter and there was a whole lot of everything going on. And I remember it was a long day. We were there for a long time, but I didn't know what it was for. No idea.
I remember looking at the storyboards so it would make sense. And of course it didn't at all.
And even directions weren't very clear, right?
Right.
It was Japan. So not everyone spoke English well. And you kind of just went with it. And like you said, the storyboards, you see it makes sense to them, but it doesn't make sense to you.
Right. You see some guy like this. Okay.
Linda, it's been a while.
It has been.
How does it feel coming back to the world of Resident Evil?
Well, I mean, I had no choice. This guy kidnapped me. What was I going to say? I mean, it's hard to say no to Andrew. He's such a good guy. And honestly, you guys, I mean, we haven't spent that much time together, but I always follow my gut. And I feel like this is my extended family now. So, yeah, it's been great.
It has been a few years since we last got together. Do you feel as if you've been embraced by the community ever since our last get together?
Oh, well, yeah, it's since that happened, it's just gone building. It's like it's gained momentum, and so many people. I had to open my own page up because people kept wanting to be my friend. So I opened up the first Barry Burton page, and it's got, I don't know how many followers on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I suppose 3,000 followers isn't much, but for an old guy who never did much, 3,000 followers isn't too bad. And people write and ask me for stuff. They send me games to sign, photographs to sign.
Yeah.
And it really has grown a lot. Recognition, probably not so much in my own hometown, because I have been there on my new town and no one really knows. But we were over here this week and we went to a thing in Milwaukee, and it was the first time in 28 years I had worn the Barry Burton clothes because I didn't have any. One of the fans sent me the outfit. And we walked in and Charlie was with me and we're dressed. We didn't even get to the escalator to get in. We were besieged by people wanting to know, going, it's really you, it's you. It took us an hour to get to the top of the escalator because we just could not get away from people recognising us. So people in the know really have just gone through the roof and met some really lovely people.
There we go. It's really cool.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's real. There's a presence there, so I'm embracing it, and that you to thank for that. So we're blame. I am one of the two. But it's been good, seriously, and thanks, for reaching out to everybody, and I'm glad that we can help bring some more life to these characters that mean so much to so many.
And for me personally, I've retired, so it's like giving me something different to do, like something I never imagined I'd be doing. Like I'm sending out letters, do a little bit of merch because people want signed autographs and all those things, and it's just non-stop. And I met some beautiful people. Like I got to go to the pro wrestling. They had pro wrestling at this Milwaukee, in the Midwest gaming. Classic, that was it. Yeah. And we got to get the wrestling. I got to go in and hold the winner's arm up and walk around with the belt. Now, I would never have had that happen ever.
Sure.
And a wrestler called Johnny Cass, he made it all happen.
Okay, that's cool.
It was cool, like really cool experiences. You just would never happen.
The community really appreciates you guys.
Yeah.
Sure. Charlie.
Yes.
We've been working very close together for the last few years now on various Resident Evil fan content and our film, The Keeper's Diary, A Biohazard Story. What has your experience been like over the past few years?
So basically, every time like we get together and we do a cool video or something like that, I'm having so much fun, and it's such a natural high for me that just going back to my regular life just feels so boring, and it's just like, all these months in between doing these cool things, it just feels like I'm just sitting there, just like watching the paint dry.
Yeah.
The friendships that I've made, along the way, and, especially on The Keeper's Diary, that was such an intense week.
Yeah.
16, 17-hour days that we were shooting.
Hey, more than that.
Yeah. And, just kind of very extreme conditions. But we were just such a good team.
Yeah.
We just gelled so much that I didn't want to say goodbye. I was like so sad saying goodbye to everybody, and and then time goes on, and you want to kind of be in contact with people, but it's just your life gets in the way, and so I'm hoping that we can just keep doing more and more and more. And Greg and I went to this convention. And I've been talking to a few people, and I'm thinking, like, if I can start going to more of these conventions, and if we get the ball rolling with that, maybe I could even just either work a part-time job instead of a full-time job, or, just be able to free my time up more because I really want to do more of these projects.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Linda, tell us about yourself and what do you know about the character you portray?
Well, to be completely honest, I'm still learning. I think you guys are going to be my biggest teachers. I didn't know a lot about the job or that anyone was looking for Rebecca up until probably about 4 years ago, where someone reached out to me and they found me. But even then, I didn't understand the magnitude of the entire situation. I was like, oh, yeah, I did that, 28 years ago. It was a modeling job and I thought nothing of it. And I kind of left it at that. So only now I'm realizing like, wow, there's maybe someone out there that, is like, wow, that's Rebecca Chambers. So it's new to me. And I'm kind of just going with it, going with the flow and seeing where it takes me. But I think it's pretty awesome. And I can't wait to play the game. I've never played the game before. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I grew up in Poland. I was born in Poland, raised in Canada, but I left to model when I was 14 years old. So I've been on my own, got to travel with modeling all over the world, started my career in Miami, then New York and Italy. And Korea was my first contract in Asia. And after that was when I think it was 1995 where I went to Tokyo. And I ended up staying in Tokyo for almost 15 years. So it's a big part of who I became and who I am and a huge part of my life.
So how did you end up in Japan and what was your experience like there?
Well, I ended up in Japan actually, and my mother wasn't happy about this because my science teacher pulled me out of school and entered me without telling my mom into a modeling competition. And I actually won the competition. And that's how I got my first contract and my first agency. It took a while for me to get to Japan, though. So I had a mother agency in Toronto, and they flew me out to Tokyo on a contract. And I stayed there. I think my first gig was supposed to be a 2 or 3 month contract. And as soon as I got there, I called my mom, I think after 2 weeks. And I said, Mom, I just love it here. And I don't think I'm ever going to come home. And I did, but I still stayed for 15 years. It was home from the very beginning. I also went to school. So I've got my uni friends in Tokyo. I went to university in Tokyo. And then towards the end of my career, I worked on the shopping network. I did a little bit of everything too, because I was bilingual at the time. I spoke Japanese as well. So I did a whole bunch of stuff. Like I would interview celebrities when they came to Tokyo on the red carpet for movie premieres or UFC fighters, like a little bit of everything really. Did a couple of movies with a couple of really cool Japanese directors. I did in Japan, they're called variety shows. Mm-hmm. So there was one called Sanma no Koi no Karawasagi or something like that. I don't remember now. But Sanma is a real famous character in Tokyo. So I was on that. I did music videos, commercials, tons and tons of commercials. I mean, it was a 15-year career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just tons of stuff.
Sounds like it was always exciting.
Yeah, it was really exciting.
Variety.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah. Tell us how you landed the role as your character.
So that's the funny thing is, as a model in Tokyo, you kind of just get in a model van every morning with the girls, and all the girls come from different places in the world. And we live in these model apartments that the agency puts you in. And then in the morning, you get in your model van with your booker and you go on castings and auditions. So we would have like anywhere from 15 to 20 castings a day. And you would just you would drive from place to place and walk in, show your portfolio, maybe try something on depending on what the job was, whether it was for clothing or department store, commercial, cars. It could be for anything. And then you didn't know whether you got the job or not. Half the time you didn't even know what you were auditioning for. So I would go on auditions and I didn't know what the jobs were for. And then my agency would just give us, if you landed a job and you booked something, you were given a job sheet, and that would give you all of your details on where you had to be, at what time, how much you were getting paid, and what you needed to bring, whether you needed to be fresh-faced or if you needed to bring something specific. And I remember just getting the job sheet for the job. I had no idea what it was going to be for. I assumed it was going to be another modeling job where I would get really cute makeup and, maybe change into some cute dresses or wedding. I did a lot of wedding dress in Tokyo, so I thought it was going to be another wedding dress job. I do remember, though, at one point, my agency asked if I was okay with getting my hair cut, and my hair dyed. Yeah. And I said, I called my mother agency in Toronto, and they were like, no, she can't do that. And they were okay with that. They still chose me. They're like, no, we still want to use her. So I wasn't okay with them changing up my hair. They didn't use a wig, though. They just spray painted it the day of. But after that, it was completely out of my mind. And honestly, I've never thought about it again. Yeah. That was it. It was just another job.
When you guys did this, were you guys paid? And why do you think they only credited you by first name basis?
Good question.
Did I get paid? Not really. So when you go down on a contract, the way you get paid is your agency fronts your flight, your stipend, money for food for the week, your rent. And then if your contract is for 3 months, you have 3 months of expenses. So a lot of the time, by the time you're done paying off your expenses, you've broken even. And right when you're about to start making money for yourself is when your contract is up and it's time to go home. So, and then you don't really know how much your agency is getting for the jobs, and whether they're honest. I was unfortunate that the first 2 agencies that I started my career with were not the greatest. I don't even think they're around anymore. The agency that I ended my career with, St. Don, I'm still best friends with my booker there. She's amazing. But they were incredible. They're like my second family in Tokyo. So I think it really depends on the agency you worked with, and if you could trust them. And you don't really know like how much you're getting paid per job. But I think on average back then, you would get paid probably $800 to $2,000 per job per day, depending on what it was.
Do you remember Shinji Mikami? And if so, what was it like working with him?
You know what? I wish I could say I did, but I don't.
Okay.
There was a lot of people there. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back in time and talk to him. That would have been cool.
Is this the first time you've been able to reconnect with any of the original cast members?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
We met yesterday.
It was exciting to see it.
Yeah, it was just,
right?
surreal.
Talk about a blast from the past.
Right.
And you guys just started talking right away, going over everything, remembering everything.
I gotta say,
very natural.
You guys have all experienced this already, but it's cool from an outside perspective seeing you guys recollect all of this stuff. So,
have you seen any of the Hollywood films? Did you know it was Resident Evil or only Biohazard?
I do think I have seen one.
Okay.
But I didn't know that it was in any way connected to what I did in 1996, 1995.
Film in 1995, yeah.
So, it was Biohazard in Japan. So, Charlie said that he never knew he was in Resident Evil. He always thought it was Biohazard, and only in the States is it called. But so you watched it on not knowing that you were the one who started it. Basically, you guys were the ones who kicked it off. Very cool.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Why? And this isn't about me necessarily, Wesker, but I get stuff. Oh, you were the best Wesker, or some, the original, because I was the first one. Okay, fair enough. But is there something different, or why, amongst the community, why is there some of that, the original why do some people favor the first Wesker?
I think a lot of that has to do with the mystery behind your sudden reemergence, maybe. And some people, I guess, just have preference. So, there's a gentleman by the name of DC Douglas that kind of redefined the role, voice actor.
Okay.
a lot of people like him. I think for a lot of fans, it's just preference, unless you think,
Yeah, I mean, it's just the story arc of Wesker as a whole throughout the series is kind of one of the best for villains in the game. But you being the first original Albert Wesker, and I'm just going back to when I was a kid and I first played it.
Yeah.
And you would, you were going through all the different characters, and it's just Albert Wesker. You're just kind of slicking back hair.
Yeah,
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, sure.
What a cool villain that was.
But that seems something a little kind of deep, and I think it had to be the age, because you're impressionable and playing it, and it's kind of spooky, and maybe you're in your room, or because the attachment or the meaning that's lasted all these years to make that connection is different than. I don't know. Maybe there's other video games, but I don't. Doesn't it? I mean, Resident Evil seems to be unique to some degree. To I mean, look at what we're doing, right? I mean, nobody's doing that for Grand Theft Auto or
Well, what's so interesting is it wasn't. Nowadays, it's more geared towards they still try to target it towards a niche audience and appeal to the original fans. But nowadays, Resident Evil is more obviously a big blockbuster thing.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot more people are interested now, but back in the day, I think it was just more of a niche thing. It was almost like a George Romero experience where it appealed to fans of the zombie genre. And, a lot of us are older now, but when we were younger and, like you said, more impressionable, when you play a game like that, you're just so memorized by it as a kid. So I think that absolutely has a lot to do with it. So.
I think it's interesting because Resident Evil is a mature game, but I played it when I was a kid, right? Yeah, and a lot of people that I talked to also played it when they were kids.
Yeah.
It was that impressionable state, but also a lot of the stories I hear, I played it with my older brother or my father. For me, it was my older cousins, and I looked up to them. So playing that with them, it was a bonding experience. And it was very different at that time. I was going from Super Nintendo games that were very different to this horror game that was terrifying, but I couldn't stop playing it. And I think that's what it was for a lot of people. It left that lasting impression because it was very new for what it was doing at the time.
And there's a whole new group coming up of like a little girl. It was a very young girl who we did a what did we do? A panel.
Yeah.
And the mum was there, and the mum had played it when she was young. And her little daughter now is playing it.
Yeah, that's cool.
She was so cute, and she was really good and just some great questions. But she was really switched on. I think it's also been released on PlayStation 5. So
they just did like a HD update or something. Yeah.
And there's a whole new generation now of gamers that are playing it through word of mouth of their brothers, mothers, fathers. And, the amount of children with dads going, that's a good. And the kids knew because they watched it,
So
I think it's interesting because I think video games today are just a lot different than what they used to be, and it's just changing so rapidly. And I think a lot of people, maybe my age or older, are kind of turned off to a lot of things that are happening in the gaming world now, which might be why you have someone like a mother that wants to share their experience with their daughter and to show them how awesome things were back in the day, So have you ever played the game before?
I have not. I did play video games growing up, but it was more like Mario, Tetris, and I think Duck Hunt and Tom Sawyer. I think Tom Sawyer was a big one for me. I loved that one as a kid. So I didn't play anything gory, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited. First time playing it.
It'll be good.
Who is
Mitsuhisa Hosoki?
Did he direct the live action sequences, or did Shinji Mikami?
You know what? I couldn't answer that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so do you guys remember interacting with a gentleman by the name of Fujiwara Takuru-san, who was kind of overseeing or producing the project with Shinji Mikami?
I don't recall. I mean, I think especially in the behind the scenes, I think there were some other people there. He could have been there, but I don't have a specific memory of him.
And they had their own bus. They really didn't interact with us at all. Like the guy with the armory did, the guy with the dogs interacted with us, but I think they were low level.
Yeah. I would say I don't think he was there. Most likely he wasn't.
Now that you've been recognized by the community since our video dropped in 2022, do you ever have fans recognize you out and about or?
For me, only at the convention that I just went to.
Okay.
And I was in a full Chris costume, so it was pretty hard to miss me. But,
a bit the same here, only at the convention, but they did really recognize you. They'd walk past and stop. And go, hey, That's them.
Yeah, I think to be fair, like some people knew we were going to be there and specifically went there to see us.
Yeah.
But there were other people that were just walking around who had that, like, oh my God, you're, you know. So there were people that were recognizing us there, but yeah, not in my day-to-day life. Some people I work with professionally in Minneapolis, know that I was this character and will tell others. So at social events here and there have been people that have, been, really wanted to meet me, and then you shake their hand and they're kind of awestruck, which to me is, that never happened. Like what? Why? Because I don't really know all this stuff. You're like, oh, I can't believe it's you. What are you talking about? But so a couple times, that's been interesting and fun.
Cool. It's interesting, the emotion. We had guys in tears like this.
Yeah.
He broke down. And he's going, I've got all these flashbacks from my life. Oh, really? And this girl couldn't talk. It's really weird to do. And we did this panel and we just talked like we are now. At the end, they stood up and gave us a standing ovation. I cried. I had a tear in my eye. I was overcome with emotion that these guys felt so much about us that they gave us a standing ovation. And I've got, I'm getting old, guys.
That's what I was asking about. I mean, and you answered. I'm not asking for elaboration, but that kind of, I'll say fervor, but that intensity, which just seems to be everlasting. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that's true. Earlier when you were talking about doing voice acting and dying and 2 minutes before dying.
Yes. Doing video game dying sounds, because you die in succession, right? Like, and so I made some sound, and he goes, no, 2 minutes before dying. Like, oh, you mean 2 minutes before? I did 3 minutes. Sorry. Sorry. Right. I got 2 minutes. I mean, that's a thing.
I remember you telling me that it may have been for Metal Gear Solid, and I know David Hayter, from what I understand, voices Solid Snake. Can you tell us a little bit about doing those kind of voice actions for Metal Gear Solid back in the day?
Yeah, sure. I mean, voice work is you're in a studio, there's glass, there's people in ponytails smoking cigarettes in front of a console.
Yeah.
And you have a storyboard, which is, a couple quick action scenes, and you know the title.
Mm-hmm.
So not a lot to go on. When high expectations, and I distinctly, like for example, dying sounds, right?
Yes.
Because you die in increments,
Uh-huh.
So there's the first one, what else? When you're really dead, and so and that's kind of an audio cue when you're playing, like, oh, I better get some life. So somebody's got to do those, right? It's a voice guy or a girl, and I was doing that once for Metal Gear Solid. And I was instructed, okay, now is 2 minutes before dying, meaning I have to make the 2 minute before dying sound, which everyone knows, of course. It's obvious. I mean, and so I made a sound, and I was immediately corrected. And the guy said, no, 2 minutes before dying. Like, you idiot, that was a minute. Do the 2 minute one. And so, of course, there's no such thing. So I kept trying different stuff. And eventually I found it. I found the 2 minutes before dying sound, and that was kind of my benchmark. And then I was able to judge, being even more dead from there. So half a pack of cigarettes later, we were done. It was Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
I think I was Snake. I don't know.
Do you remember?
It could have been just dying
before
sounds
or after?
Dying sounds
for him, or maybe some of the henchmen or something. Or Have you guys been approached by Constantine Film, Screen Gen, Sony Pictures, or any of the RE people that own the RE movie rights in any way, shape, or form? And how does it feel knowing you had a big hand in helping create a multi-billion-dollar franchise while going largely unnoticed and improperly credited all these years?
Other than that, it feels great.
See, this is what I think. I mean, it's cool that, JJ has the biggest platform fan channel wise, and we're doing this, but it's like, I think it would be cool if Capcom reached out to you guys and did this, because there'd be a much larger audience and people would finally get to be like, wow, holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
So Charlie, in the original VHS promo for Resident Evil, Chris is described as a man of observation and vision who moved from New York to Raccoon City to join the Stars. As the franchise progressed, Chris would frequently find himself exploring more and more of the world through his missions against evil. One of his popular lines is, "I've got a job to do, and I'm going to see it through," demonstrating his willingness to thrust himself into new territory. Quite like your willingness to re-enter the community after so many years, not knowing what it'd be like at all, how does Chris's desire to continually explore and experience more and more of the world resonate with you? And why or how do you think you cultivated that desire growing up?
I definitely have that kind of adventurous spirit. And I've lived in a lot of different places and just, like early on was chasing my dreams. And I never really had a plan. I always just kind of just went with my feelings. As a young man, moved, well, not so young, I guess, but it was actually right after we filmed Resident Evil. I moved to London to pursue a career in production. That didn't work out, but I ended up working in the travel industry. They moved me to New York, and New York was another adventure where I worked with all these English people, and we would just every night just go to the pub. That was what you did with English people. And then I ended up moving back to California, and the acting bug kind of kicked in again, and I was doing acting work and waiting tables. Then I had an opportunity to go to LA, so I was like, why not? Let's give it a try. I went to LA to try and do acting, but it was just really, really hard to pay the bills, and there wasn't a lot of time to go to auditions and acting jobs, and then it just kind of petered out a little bit. But I've always been the kind of person who's just up for anything, and I hope that I always will be like that. And I feel like there's something happening right now. I feel like we're all just coming to this new chapter, and I think there's exciting things ahead. So hopefully, that's running parallel with Chris. And I do feel like this dichotomy where it's Chris is my alter ego, and I'm feeling that more and more.
Linda.
Yes.
Rebecca is described in the same promo as a novice who gets nervous but also excited for her new mission. Through her many missions that followed in the games and novelizations, Rebecca's martial abilities and intellectual prowess have matured greatly. Considering this is a very early role for you, how have you grown as a creative through numerous modeling and acting roles since you played Rebecca? What is some advice that you would give to your younger self?
I am the youngest of 3 girls. And I know that, there might be someone out there watching this and thinking, who lets their daughter go to Italy when they're 14 years old? But my mom, she was a really cool mom. And I think because she came to Canada as an immigrant, she wanted the best, she wanted the most for us. And maybe she was kind of living through me a little bit. She wanted us to have opportunity. So, and because I was the youngest as well, I think my sisters gave her a really hard time. So with me, she was kind of like, go, you're going to be fine. And she was a strong mom. She knew that, I had a strong head on me and I could take care of myself. So I traveled, and I think I managed to navigate the industry really well. And I know that some don't, but I think I got really lucky, and I didn't get into too much trouble, a little bit. But to my younger self, if I could give myself any advice now, to be honest, really honest, when I look back at my life now, I feel so incredibly grateful and blessed because I got to do all the things that, a lot of my friends maybe couldn't do. And I've always felt like even if tomorrow was the end, I could look back and think, wow, I really lived, because I really did. I've had an amazing life. I feel super fulfilled. I got to live in Japan, which is still like a real part of me. It's part of my soul. I met the love of my life there. You know, we've traveled. So I don't really have advice to her because I think she did a pretty good job.
It all worked out. Yeah, it all fell into place.
Yeah.
Okay, so Eric, nearly every Resident Evil entry has some variant of shapeshifter character who deceives the heroes in order to fulfill their ulterior motives, such as Ada in Resident Evil 2, Nikolai in Resident Evil 3, and Wesker in Resident Evil 1. The character modeler Jun Takeuchi designed Wesker to wear shades and a black vest, masking his intentions with the color black. These traitor characteristics have become very popular in the action and thriller genres. What are some of your favorite shapeshifter or traitor characters in other media, and how do they compare to Wesker?
In the Matrix, there's the traitor, right? He's kind of a shapeshifter. You see.
Oh
the guy,
yeah. What was his name?
I don't remember.
The ignorance is bliss guy.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss.
So that from the shape shifting part, if you want to call it, becoming a traitor.
Yeah.
Because he was integral, right?
Yeah.
He was on the ship and he was right there, and then he flips the script. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So I guess those two characters are the ones that come to mind right away.
Though he was originally written to die after the events of Resident Evil 1, his popularity brought him back for 2 additional entries, stronger and with more ambitious motives. What do you think makes Wesker so attractive as a character?
Well, it's why did Sandra Bullock date Jesse James? I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? And then ultimately that was arguably proven to be true of those who know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, it's just the magnetism, I think, of the dark side, right? I mean, that pull, kind of irresistible in some ways, and can be appealing, or there's some kind of gravitational force around it.
It's almost like maybe like Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader.
You're the bad guy.
Who doesn't like Darth Vader?
Yeah.
I'll never join you if you only knew the power of the dark side.
All right. And then for the whole group, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years, casually, creatively, or professional?
I don't know. Whatever this flows, I'd love to do a few more bits and pieces, going, signing, meeting people, giving people a Barry sandwich, all those kind of things. I'd love to do that. It's having fun. It's just a great life. But my life is any experience that comes along, I take it. Enjoy it. Because when I am that 95-year-old guy, I don't want to look back and say, I could have done that, or that would have been good. I go, what a great time I had in Milwaukee. What a great time I had catching up with these guys. What a fantastic experience meeting Andrew and JJ. I want to be able to say that. Even if I've got Alzheimer's and I have to remember, someone has to tell me who did it. I want to know I did it, basically.
All right. So I would say that all of this, all of these things that we've been doing for the last couple of years have awakened my desire to kind of get back into maybe acting, voice acting. So I'd really like to do that. Whether I get paid for it or not, I want to do it. And if I can get paid for it, that'd be a bonus. And having gone to the convention with Greg this last weekend, that was a lot of fun. I'd like to do more of that. And then there's, the added bonus of you get a little bit of income and you get to travel. I haven't really seen that much of the United States. And it'd be fun to be able to travel all around. And, speaking of travel, I want to do fun things. And Greg and I have this idea to do a motorcycle trip with Harleys. Yeah, next spring, we're thinking maybe we'll start it in Vegas, do a tour of the canyons.
Yeah.
All on Harleys. And I really wanted to kind of see if there's any way to kind of do some sort of adventure tour company, Yeah. And I feel if me or even some of us are the group leaders in that, there'd be a lot of Resident Evil fans that would want to come and take a tour with us, or
do a tour of Japan, you know, like take a bunch of Resident Evil fans to Japan and let's do a tour together. Like these are the kind of things I'd like to do. And yeah, love to be in a film, love to, you know, do all those fun things and not have to, you know, actually work for a living.
Exactly.
Well, I'm excited to see where this team, kind of where our journey goes in my everyday life. I think I've been on a wild ride and I've almost slowed down in the last couple of years. And I'm just enjoying for the first time, you know, putting down roots, getting into a routine, because we've traveled every 3 years in a new country. So every time we get somewhere, it's, you know, 400 boxes, 2 40-foot containers, furniture, another international move. So it's been a lot. And I feel like we're home now. We got a house, kids are in school, and I'm just enjoying, you know, being a mom. And hopefully, career-wise, you know, we've got a couple of things that I'm thinking of doing with my career in the future. So hopefully that works out. A little bit of a side hustle here and there, and with you guys as well.
Ride mountain bikes, avid mountain bikers. So you mentioned the Harleys. So I'm gonna keep doing that. I want to stay on the bike. I did a lot of voice work in Japan. I got back to the US. I made a demo. I didn't do anything with it. It's still sitting there. I don't know why particularly. So I'm gonna go turn that, you know, give. I know some agencies and you know, just throw my hat in the ring, see what happens. You know, because and I got those chops, so I can anyway. Yeah, just, you know, experiences. That's it, because that's what you take with you. You know, your friends, family, and experiences. Everything else is just kind of right. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, in that rocking chair, that's all you got, right?
I just think I've been blessed. So many weird things that happened to me in my life that have been good.
Sure.
Not bad weird things. Like, I should never have been Barry. I was walking down the street in Roppongi at the right time, at the right day. Like, the guy might have been on his lunch break. I don't know if he was out there actually casting for people. Saw me, went, I need him, and took me in.
Is that right?
If I hadn't have been in Roppongi at that exact moment, never been Barry.
Yeah.
So really, really stuff happened story.
Before we end today's video, we have a major announcement to make. The Residents of Evil is proud to announce our next fan project. It will be a 4-part fan web series written by Road Team member Beggy Bagbag and directed by Road Team member Andrew Salo, director and producer of our latest fan film, The Keeper's Diary, A Biohazard Story. Greg, Eric, Charlie, and Linda will be reprising their roles in a roundabout way for this fan series. And just as a disclaimer, it is not in an official capacity and we are not affiliated with any corporate entertainment entity. This will be an independent fan-inspired venture for fans by fans. We plan to launch crowdfunding soon, so stay tuned.
Well, that's it for this video. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, we can't do it without your support. So please subscribe to our channel, like this video, comment below, share it with others, hit that notification bell, and join us on Patreon. Without you, none of this is possible.
Inez, Jason, and Mr. Makami, if you're watching, we would love to have you on this channel. Please feel free to reach out if you're interested. And lastly, if you have not yet seen it, don't forget to check out our latest fan film, The Keeper's Diary, A Biohazard Story, linked below in the description. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you back at the Residents of Evil.
日本の皆さん、今日ご覧いただきまして本当にありがとうございました。
これからも応援してくださいね。
よろしくお
お願いします。